Nottingham Forest get up and running with 3 points on the board. But were we lucky? Or is that a good performance? Let's get into it. Welcome to Grumpy Old Reds. Good morning, good evening, or good night, wherever in the world you are. Hope you're having a wonderful day, and welcome to the end of the weekend and your weekly edition of Grumpy Old Reds. And we've got two of the grumpy ones with us. We got Ez. How are you, Ez?
I'm good, mate. I love that comment, by the way.
And Anthony, how are you, bud?
Bit grumpy, to be honest.
In the wrong place.
Sign of things to come. Up the red, says oh my. Good to see you all in the chat. Hope you're well. Hope you've enjoyed the weekend. And I don't know, do you boys like a Friday night match or not? I'm undecided. I guess if we win, it's okay. If not, it's like it's a long weekend. I don't know, how do you guys feel about it?
That's a proviso, isn't it? If you win, and if you lose, it's a hell of a long weekend, isn't it? And even if you win like that, but we'll get on to what I mean by like that. But yeah, it does make it a long weekend either way. I prefer not to play on a Friday night. But yeah, as long as you win, it kind of, it's all right, isn't it?
Yep. Let's say a few quick hellos. Oh, sorry, go on. Oh, you're the same. All right.
I just say I'm pretty much same feelings, really. Yeah. I'm not mad on Friday nights.
Evening, Dennis. Evening, Stoney. Jolly Ollie in the house as well. My computer's just locked up. Ryu, good to see you. Pat, semi-grumpy. MG Dub in the house. We'll talk about you, mate. We will be talking about you. I can promise you that. Eddie saying played shit and won. Yep. Evening, Paul. Evening, Misky. Evening, Jimmy. And evening, the legend Lemmy as well. Okay, I want to get into this. And I will, look, guys, for all you in the chat, we are going to be analytical about this, yeah? I think, Ez, are you happy with 3 points?
I'm happy with the points, yeah, of course. Yeah.
Okay, stop. And are you happy with 3 points?
Of course.
Okay. I'm happy with 3 points. We've established that. Yeah, disclaimer, done. But we lost to Arsenal, and we came on here quite positive for us, really, didn't we, last week? So for those of you listening, this isn't going to be a happy, clappy session of we've got 3 points. I really want to get under the bonnet of the performance, the tactics, the team selection, and everything like that. So we're going to talk about everything seriously. We'll also talk about those links as well that have come in. I'll kick off with you. When you saw the team sheet, I don't want to kick off with Ant with it because I got a capital letters WhatsApp message from him when he saw the team sheet. We'll come on to it in a sec. When you saw the team sheet, the players and the formation, what were your thoughts on it? And guys, how did you feel at that time at 6:45 when you saw the team sheet? What do you reckon?
So I was annoyed, but I wasn't surprised. I think I mentioned that I fear that he's going to go with the back three, just even if it's just for the first half and then change the shape. We'll get onto what the actual formation ended up being. But when I first looked at that team sheet, I wasn't best pleased, to be honest. And I thought, well, you're already handing them the initiative because you're telling them that, we think you're going to come for us. We're going to low block you. What does that say to Sheffield United? That gives them a boost, doesn't it? So, I thought it didn't. I wasn't happy with it, and I didn't think it sent out the right message. And I think the guys will agree in the chat.
Yeah, and they are. Stoney said he was raging in the chat when he saw the team sheet. And I won't repeat what you put in the message to me, but let's, without the expletives, what were your thoughts when you saw the team sheet?
Yeah, I was a little bit reactionary perhaps on that one. I was pissed off, mate. I was pissed off. Honestly, unlike Ez, I wasn't expecting to do that. I mean, this is the game where you can actually be progressive, go for it. So I was surprised and very, very disappointed. Really.
What was it you wanted to see, Ant? Was it a more attacking lineup or a more attacking formation?
I wanted to see 4 at the back for a start. I didn't want to see 5 at the back. And I'm telling you right now, at times it was 5 at the back. We were right along that line, and it was 5 at the back against Sheffield United, the worst team I've seen for many, many years. Why would we do that? What we're saying, we're surrendering territory from the beginning. That's absolutely crazy. Has he got no confidence in our midfield whatsoever? If you've not got confidence in our midfield, get somebody else in. I mean, what are you doing? It's not good enough. It's not good enough. I've seen a few, just slightly off topic, I've seen a few comments saying, 3 points is 3 points. It doesn't matter. No, it does matter. It does matter. Now, to be fair, they do say that, it shows the signs of a good team if you win playing badly. We must be fantastic. You know what I mean? Because it does matter. Your performances do matter, because obviously you're going into the next match. Do you want to go to the next match having played like that? Or would you, if the halves had been reversed, it wouldn't have been quite so bad. If we'd have started really bad, I mean, it would have been bad, but not as bad. But then the second half came alive a bit and dominated the game. You could think, progression, I can see it. But it wasn't like that. It was the other way around, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's some interesting points. Let me bring some of the comments up. There's comments on both sides of this equation. I see here saying, yes, it wasn't attractive football, but people saying they're Cooper out, I think he means, are absolutely stupid. The guy's one of the youngest manager. He's still learning, plus Sheffield United are more experienced in the Prem.
We're not a kindergarten.
I don't agree.
We're not there to nurse people through.
Well, no, but at the end of that comment, I can't really agree with you on that at all, mate. I don't know where you're going with Sheffield United, more experienced in the Prem. They haven't had that manager. They were in the Prem a few seasons ago, but they've been down in the Championship for a few seasons as well. I don't see how that correlates to what we're going through ourselves with our manager, to be honest. But all points taken on board, we're not. Nobody here said Cooper out, I don't think, this season yet, have we? I think we're still holding. No, not yet.
Well, so, I might have done when I sent that message with the team sheet. I might have done. I was a bit reactionary.
But hold on. The point is, so what if anyone's Cooper out? Yeah. Like, it's a goddamn opinion. If they want to hold to it, but this is what we will debate. We're not going to shirk from it, man. But yeah, I respect your opinions. I don't agree with you on Sheffield United. Exactly what Ez said. They may have more years of Premier League, but that team there that they played out yesterday is worse than they had. On Friday is worse than they had in the Championship.
Yeah.
Owen, yes, I've learned it, Owen. I didn't think the tactics mattered all that much. We completely bossed the opening 30 minutes. It was the players who took their foot off the gas for me. Owen, I love you, and I've defended you in the comments the other day, but you can't just blame the players, nor can you just blame the manager. There's a mentality thing. There's a mentality thing with this.
Owen, no, bless you, Owen, because you are. We respect the fact you're always in the chat. You always put your comments and you watch.
And he's really respectful.
And you're very respectful. And we're exactly the same. But honestly, I never see in your comments any criticism of Cooper at all. There's criticism of the players. There's criticism of the backroom staff. There's criticism of the owners, the physios, everything. But Cooper, there has to be some sort of balance to your comments. But fair enough, like I say, you always respect and we'll always be respectful back, and we really appreciate the fact that you will come on and give the opposite side and give us something to talk about, because
it's not always opposite. He does agree with something.
It's not always, no. But what also we don't want is everybody agreeing with us. We don't want people running off our opinions. Make your own opinions, guys. Yeah.
Go on, Ant.
I just wanted to respond to that particular comment. Tactics don't matter. I think they do. I think tactics do matter. Can't blame the manager. Look, great managers take average players and make them play well. They produce a system that fits the players and they play well. That's what being a good manager is. I can stand on the side of the sideline doing nothing. You know what I mean? I can send the players out with no tactics. It's tactics and game management and picking the correct players and putting them in the right areas that make a good manager. So you can't just say, with all due respect, you can't just say it's not the manager. Well, of course it's the manager. At the end of the day, the manager is responsible for the tactics, the players, the way the players play, the motivation, the formation, picking the side. He's responsible for all those. That's what the manager. That's why you're a manager. To say that the tactics don't matter and you blame the players is absolving the manager of all responsibility. And that's not fair, because, like I say, I could sit there with no tactics and pick who I like playing with.
Yeah, and I think you make a good point. For me, if you're fully behind Cooper, cool. I got no problems with that. If you're fully against Cooper, cool. It's your own business, yeah? But I do feel that in every conversation, both sides need to be represented. You can't just say it was Cooper's fault completely 100%. And you can't just say, it wasn't Cooper's fault 100%. And the bottom
Another
line
thing, sorry,
is,
sorry, Wilvery. Another thing, it doesn't always have to be a Cooper out, Cooper in debate. It can be, what do we think of these particular tactics on that day? What do we think of the formation? What do we think of the players picked? What do we think?
Great point.
It doesn't have to be Cooper in or Cooper out. We can just have a discussion.
Yeah. Ez, you were going to say something?
No, I mean, I was going to say a couple of things, but just on that point, one of my comments on my post match, and it's a raw post match. Bear in mind, we were literally just we're still at the stadium, so it's raw, and it was Friday night raw from us too. But one of the things that I pointed out was what happened at half time. What happened at half time for us, and what did he say to them at half time? And that is something that happened quite a few times last season, especially against the teams that we should have done better against. Bournemouth immediately springs to mind. That halftime team talk, whatever it was, we came out absolutely shockingly bad in the second half.
Southampton as well.
Southampton as well. Yeah. Given the teams that should have been out, they should have been out of a game in more ways than one, and we're giving them a little glimmer of light. And honestly, it felt like the semi-final to me in the playoffs when they came at us that second half. I think if we'd not held on for a few more minutes, it would have been another one of those kind of types of games. So something's not being said, and that's tactically, and that tactics have to come from the manager. You can't put that on the players.
And Michael's raised the point here. Cooper wasn't happy with some of the performances in his presser. I have no sympathy with that, because I've been hearing that all pre-season. I really have. All pre-season, this isn't right, that's not right. We go again tomorrow, we fix it on the training pitch. It's becoming a bit of, an echo for me on that one.
Do we think that could be like a push to get more players by Cooper? Because he has been quite vocal this year.
But in my opinion, that's a criticism on himself. If he said it 2 games ago in a preseason, or 3 games ago, whatever it was in a preseason, and then he's repeating the same thing after the press conference of the next match, then I would question, well, what have you done about it? If you're seeing what we're talking about, and literally a lot of the stuff he says in his presser are the criticisms we're bringing up, then what are you doing about it, during the week to address it? Because honestly, I'm not seeing it on the pitch.
It's actually very worrying when a player says the players aren't doing what I asked them to, or the players aren't performing how I expect them to. That's actually quite worrying. That suggests that the manager's not getting his message through.
Sure.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely. And then London Voice.
Go on, sorry.
Oh, do you want to take this one on? As London Voice saying, the question is, do the current players have the ability to match our expectations? I guess the question is, what are your expectations?
Yeah, and is it expectations of the fans or the manager? Because the manager also has to have expectations of his players, and if he's got a formation or a way of playing in mind and he hasn't got the players to play it, then don't play that formation. Don't say that that's what I'm looking to do if you haven't got you can't promise something that you haven't got the minerals to to deliver. And I feel like that's what he's doing. And I was actually I thought his certainly his post-match with BBC Radio Nottingham with Colin Frey was pretty weak, to be honest. And I felt he was just playing on the fact of the home fan base again, because it was a weird atmosphere. Ant will agree with me. When he came out to do his first fist pumps, most of the fans had already exited the stadium. We couldn't wait to get out.
Quite lackluster, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a little bit. I mean, there's several reasons for it. It's a Friday night. People either want to hit the town or want to get home early, whatever. There could be many reasons for that to happen on a Friday night. But the overall atmosphere, and Ant was in the same block as me, it was very lackluster, considering it was the very first home game of a brand new, your second season in the Premier League, against one of our closest rivals, as in geographically and for many other reasons. They're rivals of us, more rivals to us than Leicester ever were. I hate Sheffield United. We all hate Sheffield United, and I think a lot of our fan base do as well historically. But that atmosphere just wasn't there.
Fans aren't stupid. Fans aren't stupid, Ez. I mean, they can see what's happening on that pitch. We're playing the worst team in the division, probably, along with Luton. A team that by now, having had a year in the Premier League, we should be smashing. And we should be playing attacking football and grinding them down and winning. Like in the first half, it was just not creating enough goal scoring opportunities. The actual gameplay was not an issue. We dominated totally. I agree with that. But fans aren't stupid, as I say, and eventually, you know, it was our first season back in 23 years last season. Of course, the fans are buoyant and they're gone, this and everything, cheering everything. This is the second season now. The fans' expectations will have changed. That's what happens in football. And if they see a lot more performances like that, you're gonna start to hear boos at the end of the game and stuff. You know, that's what's going to start happening. That's football.
And can I ask just a quick question on that? Why is it the fans are being scrutinized over the atmosphere? Surely it's the responsibility of the players to raise that volume. I mean, we did it all last year, yeah? But the duty starts with the players to raise their game to then get the fans excited and kicking on. That's how the perfect balance works, in my opinion. And then it kind of becomes a snowball effect, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But if you're seeing us regress over the half, because that's what happened. It was almost like scoring too early kind of didn't help us as much, because you kind of, in a weird way, you know what I'm saying? It's like we slowly ended up further and further back towards the end of the half until the point where Sheffield United had more possession than us. But do you get my point on that? And like,
yeah, I mean, it's the old chestnut, isn't it? You know, chicken and egg. Do the fans get the players up, or the players get the fans up? Our fans last night, we weren't bad. You know, it wasn't. I mean, crikey, I've been watching a lot of football over the last weekend and last week, and you know, some of those atmospheres in the grounds, at the big grounds especially, absolutely terrible. It's like you can hear a pin drop. It's never like that, but it wasn't as fervent as it has been previously. And I do think that you know, it only takes one player to go in for a hard tackle, as you know, or one player to sprint forward, and then the crowd upset. It doesn't take a lot to get us going. Let's put it that way. But when there's nothing happening, like in the second half particularly, literally you're sat deep, and it's just they've just got wave after wave. How do you get excited about that?
Yeah, and then you've got the flip side of that, where if it's not going right, a misplaced pass, a trick that doesn't get off, it causes unrest, and that's what we saw more of. So, certainly in that second half, didn't we? And because Aurier was getting a lot of grumbles,
about a particular player.
For Aurier, Jono got a lot of
particular player got a lot of grumbles.
Yeah,
but we'll move on to that.
We'll come on to the players in a minute. Go on, let's carry on.
No, so I was going to say, so the atmosphere was very, very surprising. Like I said, I heard the away fans for first. And normally the away fans pipe up and we shut them down straight away, don't we? We let them sing. We didn't get involved, and there was no banter between those two sets of fans like you have had against everybody else that season, and that's really surprising considering how close that rivalry is as well with Sheffield United. So it was a very strange atmosphere, and I couldn't quite put my finger on it. And I think it's the way we ended up playing and the way we let them back into the game definitely played a part in how quiet or how subdued the fans were on Friday night.
Curtis, I fully agree with your point. Fan atmosphere pushes the players to do better. Leicester and Leeds went down with their fans booing. We got behind our lads through thick and thin, which helped them confidence. I agree, but I think there's still a time where fans need the players to inspire them. You know, it can be hard, can't it? You're sitting there screaming away, singing away, and nothing's happening on the pitch, and that's where it becomes hard. But anyway, let's move away from fans back onto what happened on the pitch. So we started off quick. We got that early goal from Awoniyi, 6-6. Fantastic. He's just on fire, isn't he? And it was a decent goal. I mean, I think it was Max Lowe who messed up the clearance, if I remember rightly. I can't remember who it was.
I honestly say it was a little bit too quick for both of us because we missed that first goal.
Yeah, you weren't in. Were you in time, man?
No, neither of us were. We're still in the queue. We heard it, and then the cheering quietened down very quickly, didn't it? We weren't even 100% sure. It was very strange.
We were literally going up the steps to the stand when it went in, weren't we? We sang Mull of Kintyre just outside, queuing up.
So, but anyway, the goal was nice. It broke to Brennan Johnson on the right-hand side. He lays it off to Serge, and Serge, his crossing I've been critical of for the last 12 months, puts one on an absolute plate for Awoniyi. And then the only criticism I have of Awoniyi, I don't know why he's gone to this Mario Balotelli style celebration where he doesn't really want to celebrate.
I like it.
I don't know. I don't know. With our fans, I think
I don't want him.
He's never really celebrated, has he? He's always gone down.
He celebrated the West Ham one.
Yeah. Yeah, but that was different. That atmosphere, I think, made him celebrate the way he did. And plus the way that game went with a penalty save and all that sort of stuff, I think that was a different thing altogether. And it was his first goal for Forest. I like the cockiness. I like the confidence. Just taking it in his stride. I love it. Absolutely love it.
I must admit.
Do you like it or not? Do you want to see a bit more of how he celebrated against West Ham? I mean, he will still do the pointing fingers up to the heavens, but the bit before, I don't know. It's just something. I know you say who cares? I'm just curious.
I'm with you, Wolverine. I love to see players really celebrate. I love it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I can respect the kind of cool, calm, and collected. Yeah, it's just it. But okay, that's one way of looking at it. But I love the players to get involved and the fans to get involved and really celebrate. Rather that
than how bad it got with Stan towards the end, where he was scoring these blinders and nobody was celebrating with it. I
remember when Brian Roy went up to him, put his arm around him like, Stan, get off.
Pushed him off.
I remember when Van Hooijdonk scored his goal and only 2 players went up to him. Do you remember that one?
Yeah.
When he came back from strike. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Thierry Bonnelet was the only one who went.
Yeah, Bonnelet was it. Yeah, and everyone else just like celebrated on their own. And you're like, this is not right. But anyway, that goal, fantastic. Yeah. And you're looking at it, and you're thinking, oh, well, not you, because you weren't there for the first minute. But you're looking at it thinking, okay, put the foot on their throat now. Really crush that windpipe, and let's put 3 or 4 past them. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't expecting 3 or 4, but how do you feel it went after the goal? Do you think we should have done that, or did we go?
Honestly, we missed it. We got in literally 10 seconds too late. But I wasn't worried because I just felt, well, we're going to get plenty more. We've scored already, and these are awful, so I wasn't kind of worried. I thought, okay, we've missed the first one. There were plenty more. And like I say, we controlled the game for the first, 35, 40 minutes or whatever. We controlled the game. In fact, I turned at one point to my brother and I said, this is too easy, this is. We can get 10 if we want. And that's how it felt.
Jinxing it, are you?
Well, yeah, maybe, yeah. Well, okay, whatever. And like I say, we did dominate without penetrating.
Exactly. We look confident.
Then you think, haha, second half, City ground, kicking to over Trent End. Oh, this is going to be good. I'm fed up with standing up and I'm to look down the other end. It's all in front of the second half. I never saw
it. Sorry. But all right, we'll come on to the second half. Just before we do, there's like 270, I think, of you guys in here. 44 likes. Please take a quick second to hit that like button if you haven't already. And make sure you subscribe to Forest Fan TV if you're new. And just a quick shout out. If I've had a few questions about this beautiful Forest light, if you want it, it's only about, I think it's 32 quid from Etsy. And the seller from Etsy has given us a 25% discount on it. The link's in the description. So I think it's 32 quid. What's 25% off that? Quite a good amount. Yeah. So if you want to grab yourself one of those, it's like a 3-day delivery. It's unreally nice. Unreally nice? Not even a word.
Yeah, it's not even a word. No, it wasn't even a sentence. Mate. But I was just going to say, it is that price if you just get it without the lights and everything. So there is, if you want it looking like that, you do pay a little bit more, but you have got a 25% discount, which will bring it down to around that price, guys. So don't be put off by it.
What I would recommend, if you go for this one, I've put a little blocker around the white bit because the white can bleed into the red. So I've just put some cardboard around it. Otherwise, it can bleed a little. So maybe you just go like a full red if you want it. Thank you, Stoney. It's good to see your maths is still working. Thank you very much. But yeah, if you want to have a look at that, we get no commission from or anything. I just wanted it. It looked fantastic. So make sure you go check that out. Gunnar.
Luke's put, to be honest, Dan, that joke stunk. I don't know. What joke? What did I tell a joke?
I don't know.
Luke, tell me what joke I told him.
Reese is saying it as well. Your joke was horrific anyway.
I don't know which joke it was.
What was this joke?
Tell me, guys. Tell me what joke it was.
No, I don't know what the joke was either.
None of us.
All right, so I want to talk about the halftime team talk, because I think
I know. It was a good
what was the
joke.
joke? What was
It was
joke?
the one where it said that they say it's a sign of a good side if you win when you lose. So we must be fantastic. Is that the joke, guys? Is that the one that you're on about?
That was like 20 minutes ago.
I know.
I'm assuming that's the one. I don't know. Unless I've been wrong in the
All right. We're derailing. As apparently you got a round of applause for shouting out after half time because Sheffield United come out. Yeah. It feels a bit like the playoffs. Yeah, suddenly I'm getting flashbacks from, when is it now? Nearly 2 years ago, year and a half ago, whatever it is. And they score straight off the bat from the second half. We're asleep. This has been a problem throughout all of last season. Well, not all of it, but a certain amount of games where we are conceding straight after half time. And I think you were annoyed questioning, what the team talk was.
Yeah, I literally got up and shouted, "Oi, Coops, what the are you saying to him at half time?" And then I got a little bit of a round of applause and a few jeers, right? But it's true because how can you go from being comfortable? And like Ant said, we were comfortable for the majority. Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, as Ant said, we were comfortable, but we were comfortable without really causing any penetration, really, as he mentioned there. We weren't a threat, but to go from that, at least looking comfortable, to looking all over the place in that first few minutes, because they had a shot that was blocked really well just before they actually scored the goal. So they've come out, they've had a couple of decent chances. They scored with a second one. I mean, it wasn't even a chance. It was we were right behind it, weren't we? And right behind that Gustavo Hammer goal. And it was bang, cleaning it. A goalkeeper had no chance, by the way, but the defending was poor to allow that corner, and it's obviously broken to him at the edge of the area. But their main danger man, and he's got all that space to pick his spot, basically. But what did he say to him at half time for them to come out so lackluster and so on the back foot, actually looking scared every time Sheffield United came for us? It was so bizarre. You can't go from being comfortable in possession and then being panicked in possession, and that's what we saw. And yeah, like I said, it seems like the guys around me agreed with my comments on that one, but I can't fathom it, and I can't put my finger on it.
Yeah, you know the worrying thing, Anne, is we've conceded 3 goals so far this season. All 3 have started from a corner. But I watched the second goal back earlier. Their first goal back earlier on, and all 11 of our players were in our box. I literally had to I was like, this can't be right. This can't be right. I paused, counted. All 11 were in the box. Sheffield United had 3 players on the edge of the box. Stephen Reed's come back. He's meant to be the coaching expert. I don't know if it's just offensive coaching or is he doing defensive ones as well. But why has no one picked up on the issue that we're conceding from these corners? And it's schoolboy. Like, even the closing down was terrible.
You know what? I've never... Maybe I've got this wrong and I know nothing about football, but I've never understood.
Wait, are you going to make a joke? Are you going to make a joke just so we know if it's a joke or not?
Yeah.
We'll timestamp.
For many, many years, I've never understood any manager that puts 11 players in the penalty box. Even if you head it out, it's coming straight back because there's nobody there. And if you put 2 players on the halfway line, you can bet your sweet bippy that they'll have 4 defenders on them 2 players. Do you know what I mean? So there's more room then for you to break out. I don't get it. And
that's even with Jono on the pitch. So normally we'd leave Jono slightly further up, wouldn't we? And just to occupy a defender or 2. But just one point before I forget it: 3 goals we've conceded, 2 of them again from long range, from the edge of a box. You know.
But that's the closing down is. The closing down isn't happening. Even on that one, I think it was McKenna who flicked it away, and then it was only him and Danilo that reacted to it. The rest are like statues. It's so schoolboy. The lack of urgency to push out of your own box to at least shorten the gap that the guy has to shoot. And it's a problem we had at the start of last season, game in, game out. And
even when they are closing, they're turning their backs. But listen, take it in the face, take it in the balls. I don't care. That's your job. That is your job.
Yeah, I don't think it's the face to worry about, but I agree with
and nothing like No, exactly. But nothing like football's out in your day, innit? And with the pig bladders and all that sort of shit.
Yeah.
No, nothing like that.
I tell you what,
So,
I've just sussed it actually. What the problem is, McKenna and Worrell, because you didn't move up the pitch because you're shit scared, and we saw it several times on Friday night. Those two ballsing up. So maybe Cooper's thinking, I didn't press up because with them two at the back, we're screwed.
Yeah, but from a corner, and it doesn't matter.
Yeah, no. I agree with that. I'm talking about the general play. I'm talking about general play, the general defensiveness of the team. If we had Niakate and Felipe there, maybe he'd be a bit more comfortable than pushing up, leaving space behind. With them two,
but
they were shocking, by the way.
No, but fair enough. But original point was from defending that corner. How?
No, I agree. I agree with what you're saying.
The ball and nobody closing the man on the edge of the ball. The most dangerous player with the ball. He was the one player I would have picked out of their team as a danger man, and it proved to be the case. And
no, do you think that's because even though it's a corner, even at that point we're still defending too deep? That's why it's leaving players free on the edge of the box.
Absolutely. Amount of times I was shouting, push out as soon as you clear the first ball, and you're still standing there. You're not still standing there.
Mourinho used to always leave 2 or 3 up, didn't he? And it'd be like in his Chelsea days, he'd be like, I'm going to leave 3 up, and you decide as an opposition.
You deal with it. Yeah.
If you're going to hold them back, if you got the balls to risk us countering. Now, I'm not saying we should do that, but to put all 11 in the box, it's just tactically. You sometimes wonder what.
Yeah, but can you imagine if you had Ilanga, Awonyi, and Johnson 40 yards out from a corner? Are you telling me they wouldn't be shit scared and have players back defending?
Yeah, agreed. It's simple sometimes, isn't it? It's simple. All right, let's get into some of the comments. I want to bring the chat into it. We'll move on to the wood goal in a second.
Because the chat's rushing through. If you do want yours shouted out, and it does help the channel as well, just stick it in a super chat. Even if it's £1, whatever it is, guys, it really helps the channel, and it helps us pick out your chat because it sort of comes up in a different color. So I'm not getting the begging bowl out. It's literally to help you guys get your questions.
Yeah, to be fair, we don't ask for stuff anywhere near as most other YouTube channels, generally across YouTube. I'm not picking on anybody, I swear. We don't ask for likes very often. We don't ask for super chats very often. You go on something like Never a Foul on that. It's every 5 fucking minutes. It drives me up the wall.
Yeah. I do agree. We're still not 100 likes, guys. But what we'll try and do is, because the chat messages are absolutely flooding in, we'll pick out the members ones. We'll make sure that we don't miss those. And, the guys sitting there just chilling back, the non-members, your subscribers, we're more than happy to pick them up. But while we can, we will. So there's a few interesting comments. Crypto saying, as you had another haircut, bro. Don't get down that road, man. You don't want to know. You don't want to know.
Made us late for the game.
Yeah, that's exactly. Why do you think they missed the first goal? Yeah,
it was worth it, though, wasn't it?
Mike says, and this is something that's really interesting for me. Mike says, we need a real leader as our captain. The homegrown boy becoming captain dream needs to end. Worrell isn't captain material. Ed, do you have some agreement with Mike there, or do you think he's in the wrong? And guys, what do you think on this captain thing?
I can't disagree with it. Let's put it that way. And I was calling that all last season. Well, certainly since after he came in, I was calling for Felipe to be made the captain. I didn't understand why that wouldn't be the case. He was the most inspirational player, one of the most inspirational players that we signed during that time. He made a massive difference. He made a massive difference to Worrell. He made Worrell look decent, half decent. I'm not going to bag on Worrell because that's just not going to get us anywhere right now. And he definitely doesn't look half a defender he is without Felipe and Niakate in that defense. That mix up for their one-on-one chance, which Turner kind of dug us out of that hole, that was absolutely pathetic in terms of communication. Who called for that ball? Because neither of them did, and it ended up bouncing perfectly in between them to the one striker that they both had to deal with. So, captain-wise, I don't think he's quite there. Not when if we didn't have players like Niakate and Felipe in the squad, and even Mangala to an extent, if we didn't have players like that, then I'd understand you giving it to Worrell as a homegrown. But that sentiment has to be, kind of watered down a little bit, because it's not about sentiment. It's about making sure that you've got a leader on the pitch, and leader is a correct word that I used there in that chat. That somebody who's going to lead and inspire the players around him. Because be honest, if you were a player and you're a player like with experience of Felipe or even an Aurier and an Niakate, who are you going to listen to? Who are you going to want to be inspired by? So yeah, for me, yeah, I'd change it. I'd change it as soon as one of them's fit and is fully in. Niakate or Felipe, I'd give that armband to one of them. No doubt about that.
I want to put the counter argument. Before I do, I'll put it to you, Ant. Jolly Ollie, thank you so much for the 4 months. And there you go. There's no food bank for you tonight. Jolly Ollie's dug you out of a hole. Thank you so much. And what a guy Jolly Ollie is, man. You can't help but laugh around him. We had the pleasure of his company at the barbecue.
Oh, by the way, before I forget,
yeah,
let me get this in before I forget, because I will forget if I don't. We were lucky enough to meet a young lad called Freddie at the match, had his photo taken with us. So I just want to give him a shout out, and I hope you're having a good time, mate. And we'll see you soon.
Oh, yeah, if you're in the chat, Freddie, just announce yourself if you're in the chat, mate. Yeah, it was great to meet you. Oh.
Eddie as well, as you really are. It's the haircut, mate. Thank you so much for the $4.99. Again, another legend we got to meet. And his missus. What a lovely couple. You're making him cry, yes. You're making him cry. Okay, I want to get back to this. And I want to put to you the counter argument on this captain's thing. Worrell's passionate. Worrell bleeds Nottingham Forest. Worrell is Mr. Forest. I mean, he's all over the club shop and everything. Is that enough traits for you for captaincy? Or do you think a leader should lead by example on the pitch?
Freddie, he's in. The British Bulldog.
Hey, legend.
I've got a few points on this, unfortunately, for you. First of all, the mistakes that were made between McKenna and Worrell are even less forgivable, bearing in mind that those guys are not strangers. They've played with each other for a long time. They should have a lot of understanding by now. There's no excuse. Sometimes you can make an excuse, can't you? Oh, it's the first time. No, that's the second thing. Second point is, I don't really give a shit about who's captain. Your captain is on the pitch. Whoever's like that leader on the pitch. You can have a leader on the pitch without being given the armband. Thirdly, in my opinion, Joe Worrell, I'm not going to bin him off or anything. I'd have him as a squad player in times of desperation. But for me, he's not a first team player. And I think your captain has to be a first team player, in my opinion. Somebody that everybody can rely on, knows is always going to be there. So I wouldn't have Worrell as my captain, in short.
Okay.
So just quick. So you said you don't care who the captain is. Are you saying that as a fan, or would you be saying that as a player as well? Because as a player, I'd care who my captain was. I'd care who.
You're probably right. Yeah, you probably got a point there. Yeah.
So from a player's point of view, I think we need a leader on the pitch, and I don't think Worrell is that inspirational.
You can have leaders on the pitch, though, can't you, without being captains? Is my point.
You can.
Absolutely.
And I think I want to extend that out to the bigger question: do we have leaders on the pitch? Like, as in people who can take the game by the scruff of the neck? Is it like a Roy Keane? You know how Roy Keane would do it? He would know that maybe just a big tackle, crunch someone, would be enough to get the crowd back into it. Yeah, you got leaders who can score your goals or just pick the ball up and force the game forward. You know, do we have those kind of players? And chat, what do you think? This is a question, not a statement. Do you think we do have that? Ant, go on.
It depends on which kind of captain you're looking for. You're looking for a vocal captain or a captain?
I'm talking about leaders. I'm talking about leaders now.
Yeah.
Forget
Roy Keane was both, but mainly he led by example. But he would chew his players out, and they would respect him enough not to take offence and go all Mardy. They would respect him enough. That's hard. That's hard to find. We certainly haven't got that in our club. I mean, not many clubs have. But have we got leaders? The problem is the leaders I look at the moment are Niakate and Felipe.
Aurier, would you put him in there?
Yes, I would actually. Yes, that's a good one. I would actually.
What about Yates? Everyone in the chat is saying Yates.
Yates
for his squad, not for me. Yates is not for me. I love him to absolute bits, but I think he's a bit limited. But I love him to bits. I'd play him and everything, but I don't know. He's certainly not vogue. Well, no, not maybe.
Is
I'm going all over the shop, maybe.
He's the leader, though,
think
isn't he? He does go on there and start to try and drag everyone up.
Yeah.
I think he is vocal. Sorry, go on.
Go on,
I think, I'll backtrack on that and say, I think Yatesy could be. Yeah, I'd love him to be, by the way, because I do like Yatesy. You know,
because I've got to say, I will comment on Yatesy's performance. I felt he made a difference when he came on. I think he pushed us 20 yards further up the pitch, and that's when we had that sustained spell of pressure towards the end of the game that ultimately led to us getting a winning goal. So I think he made an impact. Maybe that's how we need to play Yatesy. I don't know. I don't know if he can play 90 minutes and have that same sort of impact. But several times we've said this over the last season or so, when he came on, he made an impact, and we haven't got that many impact subs off the bench, and he seems to be one that seems to push for, and it is being a leader on the pitch. And I would agree with the guys in the chat. I think Harvey and the rest of them, I think I'd have to agree that more so than Worrell, if we're just comparing the two of them, I would say Yatesy is ahead of Worrell.
I want to pick up on that point you've made, Ez, though. I want to pick up on the point you made about Ez being an impact sub. about Yates being an impact sub. Now, I think some of his best performance have come from on the bench. I thought he definitely came on. Look, whether I'd give him credit or Cooper changing the formation credit, we can discuss that in a minute for the game on Friday. But he definitely had an impact on Friday. I think the two games against Everton last season, both home and away, he came on as a sub and impacted them better. I'm just wondering, is his energy, is he like a bit of a burster of energy where you unleash him for 20 minutes and he can just go hell for leather at full blast and rinse his energy out? Is that where he's better, or do you think he should be starting and kind of phase that energy across the 90?
Or just add to another proviso to it, or is it another issue with Mangala's minutes? Because again, he's being pulled off around a 60-70 minute mark, and I think was it a Mangala for Yates? That's what, or did he? I think he did. But that's another factor maybe we need to pay attention to as well. There may be a game plan that Cooper has to kind of play because of the minutes that he's going to get out of Mangala, and thinks, okay, well, maybe in that. If would I rather start with Yatesy and bring Mangala on, or start with Mangala and bring Yatesy on? Which way is going to be the most impactful, basically? And I think at the moment that is the best way. But I agree. But there was one flip game that was probably the Brentford game where I felt Cooper brought him on just to appease the fans in that game because he'd been out for a long time, and it really turned the game against us. So that's one occasion I say it doesn't work. But I wouldn't blame Yatesy for that. I'd blame Cooper for that, to be honest.
Well, I don't know what you're talking about, Tony.
No, I don't.
Speak to the mods. We're just the pretty faces of the stream. Yeah. Okay.
But, no, carry on. No, I'm done.
Yeah, you were right. He did come on from Mangala. I've just double checked it in the 69th minute. And then I want to talk about the changes. I think for me personally, he did the right thing finally switching it into a back four. But I felt the substitutions needed to happen 15 minutes earlier. I don't feel like he was proactive enough. You know, we'll get onto Wood and everything in a second. But I just want to touch on the substitutions. One, do you think they were the right ones? And do you think the timing of them was good enough?
Yeah, they were absolutely the right ones. A quick point. Yatesy, we're saying Yatesy changed the game and everything. Don't forget he brought Elanga on as well, and I think that helped change the game. But it wasn't just Yatesy; it was Elanga. I sometimes get a bit, I don't know, wearisome of when I hear people say he's a tactical genius because he changed the game on 70 minutes and won. Yeah, or maybe, like you say, maybe should have changed it earlier, or maybe should have started with a back four. You know, I mean,
definitely. Yeah.
If you ship for 70 minutes and why are you getting the pass? Because you've been good for 20. Do you know what I mean? Well, what about the previous 70? Do you know what I mean? So I don't always give as much credit for changes as a lot of people do, because like you say, if you'd brought them two on 15 minutes earlier, it could have been a different story. We could have, I mean, we'll never know. You know, people can get back and say, well, you don't know that. And that's true. But from what I saw, it needed changing a lot earlier than it was. You could see how bad it was in that second half. Something needed to change. And Yatesy, you're absolutely right, you guys, is the kind of guy to bring on who will, because he puts himself about, he gets stuck in, he runs about all over the shop. And sometimes that's what you need in midfield, particularly when it's a dull game and you just sat there. You need somebody to give you that spot, don't you? And Yatesy can give you that.
But what I would
Elanga
prefer,
is electric, isn't he? I mean, Elanga's electric. I mean,
Elanga was fantastic, and he should have come on sooner. But my point, I'd much rather be in, for example, Villa's position today, where you're 3-0 up after 70 minutes, and then you making wholesale changes because you're resting your players, rather than trying to win the game at 70th minute when you've had majority of the game to do so. So that's a major change, and that's what we were saying in our post-match. Cooper, you need to fix that, because that has to come from you. You can't just put it on the players and say that they're not doing. Get them further up the pitch. Get them pushing up. They didn't have enough threat for us to be keeping 3 at the back to keep an eye on them. We should have been much further up the pitch.
Would you have started with the 4 as? Would you have gone with the 4?
100%. And like I said, that's what I wanted, but I feared it wouldn't happen because he's playing safe. He's still playing safe. Cooper is. I think he's walking a tightrope right now because he can't really take too many risks. He had to win that game. I firmly believe a draw would not have been good enough, and he may have been in trouble. I don't want to jump too soon, but I think he would have been in trouble if he'd drawn that game. A win has probably kept the wolf from the door for now. Personally.
Yeah, just quickly on what Scott said here. You're talking as if we got beat on Friday. Remember, we did win. Yeah, but we got accused of talking like we won against Arsenal the week before. We do understand how you win a football match, bro, and how you lose it.
Scott, if Chris Wood hadn't put that one in the 90th minute, would it be a different story? No, it'd be the same story.
Yeah.
It's just that we got a 90th minute header.
Yeah. Let's talk about that goal because Wood came on and did his job, didn't he, Ant? I mean,
I know what? Both me and my brother said when he came on, he's going to score. Well, I suppose everybody says that, don't they?
Yeah,
and when
it
works, when it works, you say, "Oh, I got that one." I don't know. In fact, I said to my brother, I said, "Yeah, that's the fastest." When he was coming on, I said, "That's the fastest I've seen him run." You know what I mean? He looks like he can actually run. Because normally he kind of steps. No, I was quite impressed. I've got to say. You know, fear's fair, isn't it? We're fair. We want to be fair. We want him to succeed. We've been very critical, negative, but when he does it right.
But Ant, can I just say on that, any Forest fan that hasn't been, who is now saying where are all the haters, this, that, and the other on Chris Wood are fucking hypocrites. Because one, if you didn't,
are you talking about crypto right here?
Yeah.
He's been saying it all season. Apart from crypto, thank you for the 2,000 crypto. Apart from crypto, I'll say 2 things on this. Right, anyone who is claiming they didn't critique Chris Wood all season and all last year, however long he's been here now, is either lying or they were not watching him play football. Yeah, firstly. And secondly, what's the problem with critiquing someone when they play crap? And as you're just doing now, Ant, you're praising him for what he did. Surely isn't that what you're meant to do? Otherwise, you're just a hypocrite or don't really understand what the point of talking about football is. Sorry, go on.
No agenda.
Thanks again, Crypto.
No agenda. You say what you see. Say what you see. No agenda. We don't. I know. I thought as I was saying it. We don't hate Chris Wood. We don't love Chris Wood. We do at the moment, love him, obviously, because we're fickle, but we don't hate the guy. We want him to do well. And when he does, we'll praise him. Hopefully he does it, all through the season. Could be vital for him. Could be. I think he's a pretty good player to bring on after 70, 80 minutes, actually. If you
I'm still not convinced, but we'll get on to that. Go on, Ez.
Anne's just used a word that I've heard about Forest fans, and I've said about Forest fans, being one ourselves all my life, we are the most fickle bunch of fans. Honestly, Forest fans are some of the most fickle. Honestly, throughout the years, this little golden period that we're in now, but as if like we've never done well, is just like not giving people the right perspective. But we are the most fickle fans, and I heard that.
No, we're all fans are fickle.
I agree with that. All fans are fickle. Let me just get into a couple of comments on Chris Wood because there's some interesting ones coming through. Sci-Fi says, "I still don't want Chris Wood. as I don't think he's good enough. But if he keeps up his goals per minute, I may have to change my mind. I think there's nothing wrong with that balanced approach at all.
Absolutely.
Scott, I like Scott. He says, I'll put my hand up and say I didn't fancy Wood, but also was the first to put my hands up and say, well done on Friday. Again, perfectly rational and reasonable as far as I'm concerned. What are we saying here? Mark saying, I believe Wood will do well, I think he means if he gets the service. I'm about to touch on that point, Mark. The better looking brother says, and I think it's best time to take on Man United. We're going to talk about that. Man, we've got a lot to talk about still. We really do. Eddie's not convinced at all. Let me just chuck up a few more comments. Emma saying no one gave him a chance, though. He didn't exactly get minutes in last season. It's probably because he was injured most of it. Sai says, and we were saying Wood is a decent option off the bench, 15 minutes to go. You don't get 50 Premier League goals if you crap. Sai, the one-man band, Chris Wood, fan brigade. That says loads of comments, guys. I'm trying. Put Wood in the hole, says Will. Mark says Wood showed some signs in preseason. I said last season before he got injured that the best way to use him. I wish you guys would check your auto predicts, Mark, before you send them in. The next way to use him would be in second half sub. Loads of comments. Bloody hell. And what we got here, Paul saying Wood is still too expensive. That's the issue. He looks like a £1 million player. Paul, you are absolutely spot on. But is that his fault? He didn't push the deal. He didn't push the deal. That's the thing. Okay, so on the Chris Wood thing, go on.
I was just going to say a very, very quick story. Last season, when we beat Man City, when we drew with Man City and Chris Wood scored.
Yes,
I kind of got a little bit carried away and rang Wolverine up, forgetting that he was doing a live stream, saying best striker ever, best striker ever.
Do you remember? I had to then go to the airport to pick the missus and the kids up, and I had an hour conversation with Ant, and he just had Wood the whole way I was driving. It was like, Wood this, Wood that, his movement this, his movement that.
I think even my little 30-second video after the game, I think I said it again, best striker ever.
And that comes back to that's the fickle point, isn't it? Because I remember everyone's like, oh, well, Wolverine, you called him Deadwood. Apologize. And all this stuff. And you're like, well, he has been Deadwood. He has been Deadwood since. And I don't want... Huh?
You're allowed to be fickle.
He was. But he scored. Cool. Do it again. Is my challenge to him. There is still people in the fan base who are not convinced of Awoniyi as a striker. And that's their prerogative as far as I'm concerned. Yeah? Well, you saying or you just doing the celebration there?
No, I'm doing the...
All right, just checking, don't want to be cancelled. So I want to see Wood do it again. And I think the guys in the chat are right. As an impact sub, he's not bad. But the key thing here, and Sai will back me up on this. If you don't play to his strengths, there's no point in bringing him on full stop. He's not going to run behind the defense. Yeah, he's not, there's very limited stuff to what he can do. His strength is in the air. Even though he doesn't jump, you've got to get crosses into him. Would you agree with that, Ez? Like, if you're going to bring him on, you've got to play to his strengths at the very least.
Absolutely. And it's been a criticism from Sai and a couple of us, to be honest, that we don't get enough crosses in, not enough high crosses. But we have scored 3 goals, and they've all come from crosses this season. Let's just remember that as well. 1 from low, 2 from high crosses. But I did actually praise Wood after the Arsenal game. I felt he came on and he looked good when he came on for that last 15-20 minutes against the Gooners. So he just carried that on. We want our players to kind of prove themselves, one way or another. He's not going to have the legs to do 90-minute games this season, so he probably will be an impact sub. But up until then, we didn't feel like Taiwo had any competition whatsoever. I was like, I still think we need a striker. I'm not going to change my view on that one. I think there needs to be a bit more competition for Taiwo, just because also he had the massive injury problems last season, so we can't 100% guarantee he's not going to have issues again this season. But Taiwo looks strong as your starter, and then you've got to have some backup for him. Now, so far so good from Chris Wood. but the service has to be right to him. He's not going to be running in behind like Wolverines had, so you got to get those crosses into the box. It's something we did well against Sheffield United. It's something I'd like to see a lot more of, because there are a lot of teams that don't like crosses into the box. And if you play that way, there's a fair few goals that have gone in that way this season. You might end up getting a handball and all sorts of crap, but we do need to pepper that penalty area with crosses a hell of a lot more.
And you know what? It's just reminded me. He's like a Poundland Giroud towards the end of his career. He could never get a game, but you bring him on with 10 or 15 minutes to go and sling some balls in there, and he might get his head on one.
Oh, that's a comment of the night, Poundland Giroud.
Oh, they're gonna go for you in the chat now, but I think you are kind of spot on. And I saw Sai asking in the chat that he doesn't get all this hate for Wood. I will say the people that are quote unquote hating on Wood, I would say I'm not speaking on their behalf. I'll speak on my behalf. For me, Wood isn't about the player. Wood is about the deal, the stupidity of the deal. To spend 19 million on a 1.5-year contract, well, technically a year, and then have to spend the whole 15 million in this year's FFP is beyond stupid. It's the dumbest deal, and we've done a lot of dumb deals. But this one has set us back. And for me, that's my issue with the Chris Wood deal, not Chris Wood himself. The stupidity of whoever greenlit that or asked for it is unforgivable. It really is. Because what's going to happen at the end of the year? We're not going to get a sell-on fee for him. Will they renew him now that how old is he now? 31, 32?
I think he's 31. I'm not certain.
I mean, he's going to be, say, 32 at the end of the season. His pace isn't going to get any faster. He's well into the twilight of his career. And that, for me, is the point. It's like, who the hell decided they wanted Chris Wood, and who the hell agreed that fee? That's the questions that should be asking for me. Anyway, let's move off from Chris Wood. Great goal. There's a couple of players that we have to discuss. And chat, I'm coming to you lot for your input as well. I want to start with Morgan Gibbs-White. I've always been accused of having goggles. And me and you have argued him plenty over the last 12 months, And you're a fan of his. You are a fan of his, but you were probably the first on here to call out his overplaying, over skills, and all this stuff. How do you think his performance was on Friday? Because again, I heard it was quite interesting. People who saw it on the telly were saying one thing, and people who saw it on the ground, some of them were saying something different. What was your perspective of MG Dub?
Yeah, okay. He did some decent stuff, but he did some truly shocking flicks and tricks that didn't come off. And it's the first time, personally, I've heard.
Happy birthday, Crypto.
Happy birthday, Crypto.
Just before you answer, can we just big up Crypto? He's one of the funniest guys around. And not just that, just a lovely, fun guy. It just lifts your mood. Even after a bad result with Forest or whatever, he's always got a joke ready.
Teddy bear.
He is. He is. We love him. And many happy returns.
And our biggest stalker as well, isn't he? That's how we met him.
But many happy returns, buddy. Sorry, Ant, you were about to get into your flow on MG Dub.
Yeah. It's the first time, personally, I've heard quite a few moans and grumbles when he's losing the ball. In the past, it's all forgiven. It's MG, it's MGW. Now you're starting to hear effing that. What you doing? Sick of it. I've been saying it for a long time. Yes, he is an excellent player, but God, how many times do I have to say it? He's got to cut out this bollocks. There was one attack in the second half, I'm sure we all remember it, where it was quite flowing, boom, across. And instead of MGW taking the ball and passing it, he fucking turns on it and loses it. And you think, why? Why are you doing that? You didn't need to do that. Don't do it if you don't need to do it. I'm very frustrated. But what amazed me, I spoke to a few people coming out, and the general consensus was, I'll be polite, he didn't have a very good game. He had a poor game. And this is what I'm saying about agendas. People have agendas. On the radio, they were going on about how fantastic it was, how he held the team together, how his glorious passing, how his tricks, full position. And at first of all, I thought, who were they talking about? And when I realised it was MGW, I thought, this is ridiculous. I am talking about, and they were saying he's definitely going to play for England in the next, couple of matches and everything.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, were you watching the same? Am I mistaken? And
I heard
was
that.
everybody
Well,
else
apparently your side saying his stats for the game were good, Ant.
Listen, I don't give a shit about stats, right? Don't give a shit. There's so many players that have got good stats, and you watch them and they're crap. They've got better stats. Declan Rice's stats is not necessarily better than some average midfielder. You're telling me that it's the same level? No. Stats. Right. Tell you about stats, right? Let's take assists. People got about GA. Let's take assists, right? You can have the world's most fantastic Gustavo Scarpa, for example, putting balls in. If those strikers keep missing, you don't get an assist. And yet you put in ball after ball after ball that is magnificent, and any proficient striker would score them. But your striker is crap and misses them. You get no assists. So that means your crap man does it? No.
And also, and sorry to interject, but Freuler pretty much would always have the highest running stats last season. Yeah. But everyone calls him the ghost. So I get what you're saying, but still,
if you're Harry Kane, the guy is brilliant. You can see it. But you can be a striker in another team that gets 20 goals, but you put him playing for Aldershot Town, he ain't going to get 20 goals. Does that mean he's a crap striker all of a sudden?
Just a quick shout out.
Not just stats is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Just to interrupt your flow again, we got some new members. Thank you guys so much. Aqua becoming a super red, you absolute legends. We got the British Bulldog, Ants Boy, becoming a super red as well. Thank you so much. Big Mark as well. And Silverwave, thank you guys so much. And JB, I'm just going to say JB. It's a lot quicker. Thank you all so much. Was that I can't see if that was a gifted. I don't know if anyone in one of the mods can just double check, but thank you guys so much for the support. Ez, on MGW, firstly, give us your thoughts on him, but I want to add a further question. Is it getting to the stage now with Scarpa gone, with really only Brendan Aguilera as backup in that 10? Is he now getting, not above his station, that's probably too strong a word, but is there no competition? Is there no competition for that place?
It was gifted, though. I just want to let you know that those.
It was gifted. Thank you so much. Red Dog, you absolute legend. Thank you so much. Apologies, Red Dog. You're an absolute legend. It just didn't pop up on the screen. Thank you so much. Guys who just got gifted, make sure you show some love to the legend that is Red Dog. Thank you so much, Will. My man. Love you, bro. Go on, Ez.
Well, I want to bring up this comment from Steve, and I think I kind of understand where he's going with it. I think he's been given a lot of responsibility, but he's also been given a lot of too many, I think, opportunities from Cooper's point of view, where he has made himself Cooper's made him undroppable. And if we said in our last stream, I think, that how many times does Cooper take him off? Only ever when he's injured, but I've seen Cooper replace him. And that's, I think we were talking in comparison to why would you get rid of Scarpa when you've got no backup to MG Dub? And it's still the case. So there's a lot of pressure on him to perform, but he can thrive on it, or it can get to him. And there's times where he needs to be a lot more grown up on the ball. Make the grown up decisions. I know he's learning, and it is part of his learning. But there's one thing, I think I already mentioned it, one move he made, and you're like, that is the wrong part of a pitch for you to be doing that. Because if you do lose it, and he's done it several times throughout the last season and this season, where he's lost the ball, and it's caused us problems. We've conceded a goal from it. So he's doing it in the wrong part of the pitch. He's causing added pressure on top of the players. So he does need to grow up from that point of view. But the pressure that he's got on him is because Cooper's given him so much responsibility, and I don't think he's ready for it. I genuinely don't think he's ready for it, and he's certainly not ready for talking about playing for England. He needs to. If it's coming from him and he's being hyped up in his head, that can affect a player as well, because you can start believing your own hype. And there's times when I think he can believe his own hype.
And I just want to ask you about England. Just before I do, and I'll come to you, this Sharky, the legend, gifting yet another Yet another. I don't know if it's you, Sharky, or the butler, but we love you both. And Uptick, make sure you show some love to Sharky. I've been worried about him as well. He's been quiet the last few weeks. I was gonna
I messaged him, Sharky. I messaged you. Check your DMs, bro.
Yeah. Crazy Cat Lady with the 99p super sticker. You guys are way too generous. Thank you so much for all the donations. And just thank you to the guys who are just chilling in the chat. And don't forget, if you're new here, to hit that subscribe button and give the stream a like. There's over 300 of you in here. Thank you all so much for chilling with us this Sunday evening. And Paul, of course, we thank you. You're a legend as well. Thank you to everyone who's in there. And has this England stuff gone to MGW's head? Has he come back now a winner with England, and is he seeing himself in a different light? And I want to kind of throw a bit of a challenge back at you, because you're criticizing him for not passing the ball, yet you and me were real strong defenders of Dennis last year. Could you not chuck the same accusation at him?
So what was the first bit of your question?
England, yeah.
No, I don't. He's always been like that. It was like it at Wolves, and it was like it at Forest. He's always been like that. So I don't think it's an England thing. It's just something. And people may think that I'm hating on that. I rate MGW. I think he's a fantastic player, and I hope we hold on to him. It's just he's got that one part of his game he needs to tighten up. And unless he tightens it up, he's going nowhere. Do you know what I mean? Do you think that the top four clubs are going to look at MGW playing about like that in the middle of the field and doing twists and turns and losing the ball? Do you think they're going to look at him and think, oh, yeah, he's worth 80 million? No, they're not. They're not. You know, they'll go for a more... With maturity.
And that will come with maturity.
I hope so. How old is he now?
He's only 22, 23.
21, 22,
yeah. Forget, don't we? We forget, don't we, sometimes, how young these kids are. So,
we do.
You know, I'm 100% want MGW to be fantastic, you know. People always think, don't they, if they criticize something, you hate them. No, not at all.
Yeah,
but I don't think he can grow. Maybe another manager might, maybe a stronger manager. I mean, I know you don't like me talking about the old days, but Neil Webb once shot from outside the box. Cloughy had him off. That's not your job. You provide. You don't try and score. As soon as you did it, straight off. Now, can you see Steve Cooper doing that? Has
he ever been subbed off? Has he ever been subbed off barring injury?
I can't think of one.
Chat, has he? The chat will know better than us. But I don't want him to get to the untouchable stage where he's bigger than the team. Yeah, even though he is our best player. Do you know what I mean? I still want him to have that humbleness. And I'm sure he's a very humble guy. But I do worry. And I've got to say, his crosses are still not good enough from dead balls. And his shooting is absolutely woeful. It's not even close to being good. Now, hopefully he'll go and score against Man Utd now. I've said that. But his shots are either over the bar or weak. There doesn't seem to be a middle ground. And he should have fed Taiwo in. When he shot from the edge of the bar.
It was a perfect run from Taiwo. He'd done everything to get himself in that position. And I think he'd just slip it in. And Taiwo's in. He's 1-on-1, and that's a goal. So it went to his head. It happens to everyone when you've done a little bit of skill and you want to just finish it off. But the smart thing to do would have been to feed Taiwo in, because he was clean through, wasn't he? In the penalty area. He's got to. Again, it's a part of the maturity. It's part of the understanding. But he's got to understand when to do it, because that little bit of skill that he did to get through, I shouted, that's the way to do it. That's the place to do it in. Not in your own penalty area, not in your own half. When you're facing your own goal, that's the place to do it. And it was a fantastic bit of skill, but then have that maturity to think, actually, slip that player in, because Taiwo read it and he timed his run perfectly. Would have been onside. It would have been clean through. But you live and learn, and we got away with it not being costly, but he does have to improve that decision making. My issue is, and what I wanted to point out in Sai's comment, was that he's got no competition now, though. Cooper's made it worse for him, in my opinion. He's made it worse for him, knowing now he's totally undroppable, because there's literally no one behind you. There's Brandon Aguilera, who I would like to see, by the way. I'd like to see him on a bench a couple of times.
He's still not ready, in my opinion. But
he's still not ready, but he's not a backup for MGW, and there is no backup to MGW.
Not unless you change the formation.
Let me just get these comments, because there's loads flying in. Sai says, I love watching MGW in the ground. About some of the only exciting bits of football we play. I fully agree with that. I don't mind him losing the ball. I've said it with Dennis plenty of times before, but he's overdoing it right now, especially when, like I was mentioning there, the chance with Owoni. Lemmy, I wish you could have made it tonight. It would have been really fun to hear your side of it. But let me say, and if MG Dub scores one of those shots created from a solo run, you'll all be singing his name and buzzing.
Of course we would.
Of course you would. That goes without saying, you know. But at the same time, when he doesn't do it, and
it's shit in the Forest.
It's
like shocking. He's had more scoring opportunities, been in good scoring opportunities. Sorry to interrupt. Over last season, than most players in the central position, and his what's the word I'm looking for? His is basically the amount of chances he converts is very low. His conversion rate is very low. So there is a reason why we're mentioning it.
Yeah, absolutely. Mark saying, have to agree on MGW shooting. It definitely needs work. And the thing is, he said he's been working on his shooting as well. Yeah, which is a good sign. I just haven't seen it on the pitch. But what I will say is if he adds finishing to his game, he's going to be next level, isn't he? So, you know, that's why we're just trying to push him to be the best. There's loads of comments coming in. Let's catch up with a couple of them, and I'll let you have your piece on it. Greg saying he was subbed for all of 2 minutes for Lingard against Manchester United. Which tonking was that? I can't remember. Didn't Lingard go off injured? That was in the cup, wasn't it? I'll trust your guys' words on it. A couple of you.
That was before the game, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, Anne, go on.
No, I don't think I had anything more to add. I think I've said my bit. It just
Let's
needs to
move
work on what you need to work on. That's it. I mean, it'd be great.
All right, let's move on to our next topic. And the other player I want to talk about is Aurier. This one was really divisive. Like, everyone who watched the game, not at the ground, thought he had a really good game. Well, not everyone. I'm just broad brushing a little. And a lot of people coming out of the ground was saying that he was giving the ball away. He was really bad defensively. Chat, which way did you see it with Aurier? I think he got man of the match at the ground as well, if I'm not mistaken.
He did, yeah.
And he got man of the match on the watch.
I think Taiwo did. No, I think Taiwo got man of the match at the ground.
Okay, he got it on the watch along as well in the player ratings. How did you see him on Friday? Was he good or was he bad or was he somewhere in the middle for you?
Well, it's quite strange because you always have to bear in mind the opposition, don't you? And I thought going forward, obviously, it was excellent going forward. And I didn't, let me put it this way, I didn't notice him being terrible. Yes, he may have given the ball away once or twice. All players give the ball away. It's easy if you focus on one player to get, oh, he gave the ball away, but they all do it. 50-50 game. I thought he was all right. He didn't strike me, sometimes you see him and you think, man of the match, brilliant. It didn't feel like that being there. But I had no complaints. It was kind of, a good game. He played well, and that was about it. And his crossing was outrageously good.
Yeah.
But also, like I say at the beginning, you have to bear in mind the opposition. He wasn't being exactly hammered down that left-hand side in our right-hand side. We were playing a poor side. So it wasn't really tested in that aspect.
Yeah, let's have a look at what the guys are saying on it. Let's bring some of these comments. It was Taiwo that got man of the match. I swear they put it on their Twitter as Aurier. Must have been looking at the FFTV Twitter. Crypto was proper slating Aurier. Oh, Crypto's been outed on his birthday. James saying Aurier is good part of Forest. Jason saying out half of the pitch, our half, I think, another auto predict, looks sluggish. In there's top notch crosses. Mikey is saying Aurier looked better last game, more of a leader than Worrell, but hearing he's potentially going. Yeah, there are links to him as Saudi. We will touch on the right back that Forest looked like they're signing on Monday. Phil saying Aurier did his job. His passing / crossing was very good. And Fonzie, how are you, Fonzie, says, Aurier, funny one. I thought he was bad, and my girlfriend said he was good in the ground. Never argue with the girlfriend, man. You should know that by now. You should know that. What was your take on him, Ez? Well, you're on mute.
Yeah, I you know what I said? Because a lot of the guys around me, especially that second half, he was getting down the right. Again, sorry. He was getting a lot of abuse. He was getting a lot of I say not abuse. Abuse is probably a bit far, but he was getting a lot of derisory comments himself. So Aurier and John down his right hand side in that second half, and I was really surprised when I went over to FFTV HQ to go and check in on Dino to see that you were doing the player ratings and you'd given him a 9. I was really surprised by that score because but then when you pointed out his stats and how well he played, how many crosses he got, and I didn't realize he'd got both assists. Obviously, we missed the first one, and obviously the second one he got. But I was really surprised that he'd done so well from that perception. In the ground, I don't think the perception was the same, and I kind of agree with Crypto. He was getting defensively he was poor again. And I felt.
Can I just very, very quickly, Ed? Can I just? Sorry, it's to do with the point you're going to make.
Yeah,
he was playing as a wing back. That's not his position. I just want to.
That's a very good point. Yeah.
No, yeah, absolutely. But we went almost more of a 4-4-2 anyway. It wasn't even a wing back formation. It felt like Bolly was playing right back and Aurier was playing right midfield. He wasn't playing as a right wing back. But he wasn't tracking back, and he was very slow to track back. And that was what a lot of the criticism around me was for, that he just wasn't going back at all. Now, I know Cooper's put him in a different position, and he's changed how we played. I wasn't 100% sure it worked, to be fair, until the substitutions came on. But I was surprised that he did so well. So the perception of being at the ground and watching it on TV it's different, honestly. I was very surprised.
Let's give Crypto another quick shout out. Thank you so much, bud, for the 4.99. At ground level, looked like he kept losing one-on-ones, losing headers, kept playing the ball backwards. Watched highlights. He looks amazing.
This is what I say to people when they think I'm getting onto them. When I say to them, it's different because you see a lot more at the ground. I mean, obviously that's like the other way around, but generally speaking, you see a lot more of the play and what players are doing off the ball. Yeah, that you don't see, and people think, oh, yeah, you get on the ground. No, it's not. It's just factual. You do see what's happening. On the bit that the camera's not on.
But I love what Samir says. Everyone sees things different, and that's what we love about this community. We'll just debate it till the cows come home. Let's just touch on Jono. A lot of people, and this was, I think, from the people I spoke to at the ground and the people who watched it on the old box, are saying they felt his head was turned at the game. And I think, as you were saying, that he was getting a little bit of needle back from the crowds, wasn't he?
A lot of, one of the comments I know it came up a few times from the guys around me was, oh, if you're not interested, F off back to wherever you're going to go. I felt it was a little bit harsh, and because I don't think his performance granted that. I think the way he was playing, and again, I think the guys were expecting him to be out on this right wing, but he wasn't. He was being played almost up front with Awonyi. He was level with Awonyi. He was 4-4-2 most of that second half. So Cooper had changed that formation, and that's when he was getting the abuse from what I could hear, or the derisory comments. Let's put it that way. But yeah, some of them were not happy with him and felt like he's on his way out, so just go already. Which I think I don't want us to be treating a homegrown player, well, any player like that, not one that he's actually performed for us over the last couple of years. So I wouldn't want to kick him out just because there's been interest in him until he comes out and says something. But I think it's very hard for players these days, unless you do it on social media and let something slip. It's very hard for them to actually get their views across. And obviously he's got a new agent now. Maybe his agent should tell him, you stay stum. If you're told to play, you play. But when the deal comes, it comes. But we do think it's only a matter of time that maybe before he is moved on. But he's got my backing 100% while he's there. I'm not going to slag him off. And I don't think his performance was that bad to warrant some of the comments he got for me.
It wasn't great. Was it, and the performance? I mean, Ez has got his Jono goggles on. I thought he drifted in and out the game, but I just think he's been doing that all year, to be honest. Well, the last 12 months. And, when he produces a moment, it's a hell of a moment. But I do understand some people that will say he wasn't, he just doesn't provide enough.
It was a non-event. And for somebody that's supposed to be this wonder kid and, taking the world by storm, not on on Friday night's performance and not on the previous performance. And Ez has got me a little bit concerned here because Ez is a big fan of Jono. But if you remember last year when certainly I, and I think a lot of other people were criticising him early on in the season, Ez was saying, it's because he's going to the World Cup. And I said, if that's his attitude, he can fuck off now because he's supposed to be a Forest player. I don't give a shit about Wales in the World Cup. And if he's pulling out a challenge for fear, can you remember me saying it? I said he can fuck off now.
I do,
now, if Ez's saying again this year that he's thinking there might be a move and he's pulling out, get rid of him. You're a Forest player. You die for this club. You die for it. You don't pull out of challenges because you might be going somewhere else. No, get rid. If that's his attitude, get rid.
Yeah, just to clarify, that's not what I was saying. That's what I was saying the fans around me were saying. That's not. I'm not saying he was pulling out of challenges for that reason. But last year, I take on board what you were saying. Like I said,
it's a fair point. It's a fair point because he did pick up performances after the World Cup, and it wouldn't just be him. It wouldn't just be him though, Anne. This is like every player under the sun. If they feel a move's coming on, they're gonna be less likely to want to put a foot into a challenge, etc. Okay, the other one, just before we move on to Danilo, because I really do want to talk about Danilo. Crypto's reminding everyone, if you've got Insta, make sure you give us a quick follow. If you do ! Insta in the chat, you'll get all your Forest updates on there as well. So show some love, and thank you to Dave, who just does a miraculous job on Instagram for us. So make sure ! Insta in the chat, and make sure you're following. I think it was Mark that mentioned here about Danilo. I thought that was one of the worst performances I've seen from Danilo. Even his clearances, he was slicing them straight back to the Sheffield United players. And, some of the people in the chat, and I don't necessarily agree with them, saying, well, is he missing Lodi? Was there a connection with Lodi there? Is he missing Scarpa? I think that's reaching a little. But looking at his performance on the pitch, I don't even think he was good at Arsenal. But against Sheffield United, he stood out worse than I thought against Arsenal. What was your take on it, man?
Brilliant. Play shit for the next 2 weeks. I don't give a toss. Get him on that pitch. Tell him to walk about. Tell him to limp. Tell him to hobble. Tell him to miss opportunities. Tell him to misplace tackles, misplace passes. Play like crap for the next 2 weeks. And then when that transfer window shuts, you can come out and show us your true, beautiful self. So I don't give a toss at the moment. But he has been shit.
What if that costs us 6 points, Ant? Well, if that costs us 6 points,
I don't care. He'll get
really?
more than 6 points if he stays. He'll get more than 6 points if he stays, won't he?
I ain't buying that. As what are you saying?
I think that's Ant's got his excuses already in on behalf of Danilo. He was poor. He was poor. He was
shocking. Shocking. He looks really lost.
And I don't want to put it down because Felipe's still there. If any of them, he's not good. He might have lost Lodgy and Scarpa, but he's still got Felipe there. And if he doesn't want Felipe, I love him. But no, he's not really. What was I going to say? I lost my train of thought. No, it was his performance for a little while. Even again, Arsenal was poor, but Friday was even worse because it was against a team where I thought he'd have a bit more about him. But he played in a 2, and he's been playing in the 3 regularly when he has been playing in that midfield. Maybe it just didn't work for him. I mean, I don't know. I felt that when he did get the ball, he wasn't being progressive like he has been.
Yeah.
One of the main things about him, he was turning back. He was passing backwards, and he almost got us in trouble with one of his passes. It was a bit loose, but definitely nowhere near how he finished the season. I think it will come. I kind of hope that it comes sooner rather than later, but I kind of like Ant's thinking as well that just either that or just. But then again, if he wasn't in the squad or if he wasn't in the starting lineup, we would have started wondering other things, wouldn't we? Because there have been links around him.
I know Ant's joking, but I'm not having it, man. I'm not having it. I got to call it out. I know you're joking, but I am worried. He does, as Eddie says, it's been 2 games now. He looks a little lost now.
Yeah, lost is the word I used. That's the word I used. He looks lost.
Yeah. Has his head been turned? Are we saying the same thing about him as we said about Jono?
I don't know. And, Steam raises a point. Is he under different instructions or is it him or is it orders he's under from Cooper? I don't know. I think Will's got a point here.
Maybe he's just had a couple of bad games.
But do you think that he worked just the point of playing in a 2 rather than a 3? I think he plays better in a 3 because he has more license in a 3. In a 2, he has to be a lot more.
I think that's excuses.
I don't think it worked. No, I just don't think it worked.
I think it's excuses.
I think if you're in a 3, you do have more license, don't you?
So what?
You can't
Okay,
deny it.
Wolverine. So sorry. So Wolverine, what would you say it's down to? His lack of form so far this season.
I just think it's symptomatic of the whole team. I think we're too defensive. I bring it down to that. He can't get forwards because the ball's in our half for way too long. And then when he does get forward, what's the point when there's only like MG Dub and Taiwo up there with him? You know, there was so many times against Sheffield United where I remember Aurier got to the byline twice, pulls it back, and none of the midfield have broken into the box. Where those late runs from the midfielders is kind of what we see a lot in the Championship with Yates. He doesn't tend to do it as much in the Premier League now. And we saw it at the back end of last season with Danilo. So either he's being lazy and not making those runs into the box, or, as Steve said, maybe he is under instruction to hold back. And if he is under instruction, then I'm sorry, that's diabolical tactics, especially against Sheffield United.
But I think that's what it is. I genuinely think that's what it is. Because who's behind you? You got Warren and McKenna. You know, you're not going to be bombing forward. You can't have that license without somebody like Felipe and Niakate behind you. And when he doesn't play in a free, like I said, he's got to be more disciplined. Him and Mangala weren't passing the halfway line most of the first half.
Yeah.
So exactly. So who's that down to tactics? I can't blame the player on that one.
You know what? I think people underestimate the effect that your central defenders have on the entire way you play football, especially going forward. If you've got two defenders like Worrell and McKenna who are not reliable, not got the pace necessary, so they have to stay back, that affects your midfield and that affects your strike. It affects the whole team. When you've got the likes of Niakate and Felipe in who can push up with confidence, then all of a sudden your midfielders are further up the pitch, your strikers are further up the pitch. People like Danilo then have got people close to them, strikers close to them that can put through, or they can make runs themselves. You can't make a run into the box from your own box. Well, it's very difficult. You know what I mean? Whereas if you're further up the pitch, you can make that run into the box, as Danilo has done. I agree. It's we come back to those negative tactics again, don't we?
Yeah. Well, let's go on to the tactics, because here's the question I really want to get answered, and I want to ask you guys in the chat as well. Is that the best Cooper has to offer us? Because I said it on the watch along. I said it before the match. This is probably the worst team we're going to play. Bearing in mind the time of the season, they've still not got a squad together. They're weaker than they were in the Championship last year in terms of Sheffield United. And we still saw somewhat negative tactics. The majority of that first half, they ended up with more possession, even though we started, I think we had like 70% possession after 15 minutes, and then it just slowly got eked away. Is this, and I take it back to what Cooper said a lot of times at the end of last season, he doesn't want to play like that. So in my mind, looking at Cooper ball, whatever you want to call it, is this Cooper ball? And is this ringing on what the Swansea fans have always said? These are his tactics, and he's always been negative and always will be. Let me chuck it to you as first. Like, is that the best we can expect? And what do you guys think in the chat? Is
this Cooper ball? I think it is. And if this is his plan B that we've been asking for all pre-season that we didn't get to see, then I'm worried like the rest of the guys are in the chat, because that was a team that if you're going to play a more expansive, more progressive style, it's got to be against the Sheffield United. It's got to be against the Burnley coming up, even to an extent, you know, well, certainly against Luton and maybe even Brentford, because the Brentford game breaks up us playing all three of the promotion teams in our first 4 games. So you got like I say, Burnley next, isn't it, in the league at home, and then it's Brentford, and then we play Luton. So if you're going to stick to a way of playing against what we can technically call the weaker sides, or the sides that we certainly should be beating. And there was a point that was made in the last stream about getting 12 points out of these games, you know, making sure you are winning both home and away. We've got to be looking at that, because they're the kind of points that we've got to be targeting, because we're still not that team where we can expect to win the majority of our games. Our home games will again be our strength, but what we've got to do is pick up a few away wins, and it's got to be against those teams. But if that is our plan B, that's what worries me, because that didn't look good at all. I will still give him the proviso that there's still players to come back in. I understand that, and there are players that would, if fit, would slot into that first team and would make us stronger. But does it ever change the way we play? And it was a good point. I can't find where the point was, but we, even with, I think Samira said it, with Niakate and Felipe in, we were still playing that way. We just looked a little bit stronger defensively. We're still playing that way. So what is the difference? What is that style that he's on about, that progressive football, that, because we haven't seen it. And if we're not going to see it against Sheffield United at home, then when are we going to see it this season?
Yeah, and just before I jump over to Ant with the same question, Mark, I get you saying the possession was 50-50, a marked improvement, but it's still Sheffield United. And I will be disrespectful towards them because of the position they're in. There's no Sheffield United fan that thought they were going to get any better than a draw, realistically, at the City Ground. And they damn well nearly did. But at some point, there has to be, managers not need to disrespect the opposition team, but need to go in there. Like when someone plays a Man City, you expect them to go defensive, even if they're second in the league. You know, you're going to go to the Etihad and you're going to play defensive. But I wouldn't expect, say, Arteta, when they go and play, let's just pick a random team, I don't know, Bournemouth at home, to suddenly, you know, go into a 3-back and give up possession and then be happy with only 50% possession. You know, I am worried that this is the best Cooper has to offer in terms of turning us into an attacking unit. And I've seen a few comments. I know Owen himself saying, well, it's the players. I don't agree with that. I can see Colors saying we haven't got the fullbacks for this formation. But I'm just kind of talking more so about what Cooper has to offer. Is this his upper limit, really, is the question. So, Ant, let me chuck it to you, get your thoughts on that.
It's quite funny. I was just about to ask if anybody had the possession stats. Personally, can I speak for myself? I think 50-50 at home to Sheffield United is pathetic. Yeah, it's pathetic. They are shit, you know. If we're getting 50% possession against Sheffield United, what are we going to get against the teams in the top 15? Do you know what I mean? You're talking about a relegated side here, and they are relegated, whether people like to admit it or not. Sheffield, that is. Are we back to having the same as we had last season, where we're looking at 20% possession? I'm bored of it, mate. I'm bored of it. And as you've quite rightly said, if you're not going to do it against Sheffield, if you're not going to play progressive, I do bear in mind that, as I said previously, we had Worrell and McKenna.
Yeah, but Ant, sorry to interrupt you. Sheffield United was subbing on kids in the second half. Yeah, no. They're not bringing on Maldinis and Ronaldos, etc. Sorry to interrupt you, but go on, carry on.
No, there is no excuse. I'm not, you know, I'm just saying that people might say he had Worrell and McKenna. Yeah, okay. But they're his players. He's had them a long time. So, you know, there was no sign of any particular change in the way we play football. It was the same old crap. And I was bored last season. I was okay. I loved it because we were in the Premier League and we stayed up. So I absolutely loved the season. It was fantastic in that respect. But there was a lot of crap football. And you put up with it, don't you? I said it, haven't I? I put up with it for 1 year. I'm not putting it up with it for another. And if this doesn't improve rapidly, I'm going to have to start thinking about what we need to do about it. And there's only one thing we can do about it. But, you know, I'm prepared to hang on for a little bit. Maybe when we get Niakate and Felipe back, if we start to play more progressive, then brilliant. If we don't, I've had enough. Honestly, I've had enough. I can't. Is this the height of our ambition? Scrapping around at the bottom, playing defensive football. We're spending as much as anybody else. We're as big a club as most clubs. You know, you've got teams like Brentford and Fulham and Brighton taking the piss out of us. What's going off? So, no,
and the argument back would be, okay, Brighton came up and they established themselves. I think they finished 17th 2 years in a row and then progressed. Yeah. Are you being a bit impatient with what you want to see?
I'm not asking for us to qualify for Europe. We finished 16th last season. If we can get to 14th this season, I'll be absolutely delighted. I'll be happy with 15th. But let's play a bit of football as well. I mean, otherwise, if you don't have the football and you're losing games, it's not great. We're Forest fans. We're supposed to enjoy this. It's what we want.
Yeah, and that's just a point I want to touch on, because I meant to mention it earlier, because just going back to what I was saying about the atmosphere, I felt like there was a hangover from last season. Last season was a tough season for us in so many ways. Emotionally, it was a very hard season for the majority of the Forest fans who travelled home and away. And I felt like there was a little bit of a hangover coming into that game yesterday, and that probably had some impact on the atmosphere. But I also feel like that the fans, just like Ant said there, the fans, maybe we are impatient, maybe we are trying to run before we can walk, but we pay a lot of money now. We pay a lot more money than we've ever had to support our team, and we want to see some quality football, and we want to see our team.
We're buying the shirts, aren't we? At £75 a time, you know, and everything else.
Yeah, exactly. You know, it's not cheap, and obviously there's I hate to say it, bring it up, cost of living crisis. It absolutely is. So we've got to balance that, because expectation grows with you. You pay more for something, you expect more from it. Don't you? With whatever it is, and a football ticket and a football match is exactly the same as any other product that you're paying a service for. The more you pay, the more you expect. And I just think the patience is going to wear a little bit thin this season.
I think it is already.
Yeah, I don't think it matters if it does or doesn't. I think the main thing everyone's forgetting about is who's in charge, and that's Marinakis. And they panned to him a lot of times in the game, and he looked pissed. He looked pissed.
How can he be happy? You know.
Yeah, and I think, you know, it's interesting what he said in his interviews. Was it yesterday, or the day before? Where he's taught his progression is still top 10 for Forest. Now, I know he's realistic and he's not expecting tomorrow. Well, technically, we were top 10 until about an hour ago. But anyway, you get the point I'm making. So I don't think it matters if you want Cooper long-term, Cooper short-term, Cooper forever. The key man to make this decision is Marinakis. And I think he is a person who enjoys good-looking football. And I think he believes that Forest should be playing good-looking football. Because we will lose, but there is a way to lose, isn't there? There is a way. You don't just wave the white flag and do it for 90 minutes. But okay, let's talk about looking ahead, because there are a lot of teams in the mud at the moment, and one of which is my favorite topic, Manchester United. We've got them next week, and they look shocking. Ez, has this changed your expectations for next week? And chat, how are you feeling looking ahead? We're not going to do a full dive in. We'll have a pre-Man U stream for that. But just as a quick kind of, you know, little prelude, how are you feeling about it? And are you expecting anything more or less now?
I don't know. I mean, my debate now is whether I take Rashford out of my FPL team, but he's playing Forest next, so do I leave him in for one more week and then take him out?
By the way, if you're not in our FPL league, ! FPL in the chat, and the stream is on, what day is it this week?
Thursday for FPL, and there's a Tuesday stream with my football friend that side on Tuesday. 8 o'clock for me and Ant with our weekend review, so that's going to be a different show. But I kind of like...
make sure you tune in to FFTV Premier League. Links in the description. It's also, if you do ! FFTV, the links there as well. Sorry, Ez, gone.
Yeah, so
I think you're leaving him there to jinx him, Ez. You're leaving.
Can you remember last season when we were playing Man City away, and I said I'm going to triple captain Haaland, and I forgot.
He had a shocker. Yeah.
I should have done it. He scored a hat trick. I should have done it. I'm worried that against Forest, their record against Forest is just so. Our record against them, should I say, is so bad. But that's the only thing. But we've said it a couple of times. I don't think it's a better time to play. But we said that after the World Cup, when we were going to play, because they'd had a mixed not pre-season, but they'd had a mixed season in between the World Cup. I don't know. Yeah, I'm hopeful because they do look poor. They look disjointed. They look like. I love when the ferret gets Mardy because his face makes him even uglier, and all he does is moan and bitch and moan and bitch, and that's not a kind of captain I want. By the way, we were talking about styles of captain. I wouldn't want to be led out by him. He's not a leader for me. So I think it is a good time to play them. You know what? If we're ever going to change our record, even Spurs changed their. When they got their first home win at the new stadium against Man Utd, didn't they? And I just want to touch on what we were talking earlier about, changing manager and the change of where you play. There could be no bigger contrast than Spurs last season and Spurs this season, and the change of manager.
Yeah.
So it can make a difference because in fact, they're weaker. They've lost the most prolific goal scorer in their history, so they're technically weaker, but they look stronger. No, just saying. I think it's as good a time as any to play Man U, but that never really works out normally well for us. I'll be quietly confident we'll get a draw or something.
Just a quick one, Jackie. Second game in, which we did win, by the way. Really? Oh, didn't know that. And you're all doom and gloom. Why not wait until we have passed the deadline and see how the team progresses? Just as a quick reminder, this is a review of that game. Yeah. Whether it finished 1-1 or 2-1. We know the points are in the bag, and we said this at the start. We're just being analytical about the results with Forest goggles off and just looking at the performance, just to make that clear. And it's gone. Well,
no, I was just going to say, Jackie, just on a wider point, we're not an echo chamber here, but if you look on a wider social media platforms, a lot of what we're saying is what a lot of other fans are saying as well. We're not. And we're giving you guys the opportunity to counteract it. If you've got a good argument on why
exactly.
I don't think we're being pessimistic. I think we're giving an honest review. What we won't do is put something up when there's nothing to butter up. We'll give you honest.
And anything the boys are saying, I'm trying to, push them onto the opposite view and get that argument back. But anyway, and on Manchester United, you feeling more confident?
I should be.
Mr. Negative.
Yeah. Well, no, I should be because I said a few times earlier on that Sheffield United were the worst team I've seen. Man U are pushing them close. They have been shocking. Why that stupid peanut-headed manager thinks that Casemiro, Mount, and Fernandez will ever work?
No, they work. They work, and they work.
Yeah.
No. Right, he's looking to be able to pick the finest midfielder the world has ever seen in those three. I don't know what to say because we should be, but it's Man U, isn't it? And we just fall over ourselves to give them goals against them. It's like
the last time we've got anything up them.
I know we should do.
I know.
Sorry. I mean, with our attack springing that counter attack, it's ideal for us. But we're going to do what we always do. So it's just a case of whether we can keep them out. It's dead simple, isn't it? If we can keep them out and spring an attack and score, it's possible. It is possible. There you go, all you people calling us negative Nellies. It's possible that we could actually.
Is it probable?
Get some out of the game.
Is it probable? Yeah.
Again, it should be because they've been so bad. But with these teams full of multi-million pound players, you always think they're going to turn it on at some point. Now, Chelsea last year never did turn it on, but you still felt hard game. They're going to do something. And with Man U, you're thinking the same.
We had a poor start last season, but that was, you can say, down to Ten Shag coming in as Heisenberg coming in for.
I love that name. I love it.
Coming in, and he's the new manager. So you can excuse that last season. Sorry, go on.
Wait, don't talk over each other. Let's finish your point and jump in.
I was going to say, so he's had a similarly bad start this season, but you can't use the excuse of him just coming in as a new manager. So it's as good a time as any to play them, as you can say. But we've got to really expect to try and get something out of that, even if it is just a draw and we have to low block to get that draw. It's away from home. Old Trafford, last time we beat them at Old Trafford was Stan Collymore year, the 94-95
Is that the last
season.
one?
I was there.
Time, yeah.
We've been in the Championship for 23 years, mate.
I know. I mean, obviously, next time we played them was 8-1 defeat and all that season.
Shut up!
We haven't had a point off them.
Shut up. Let's get on to the comments. Carl is saying we should have go at United. Wolves and Spurs made them look shite. I bet we just sit back and let them have their way with us. That is my worry. I really hope that the analytics team at Forest look at the Wolves tape, look at the Spurs tape, and see just how easy they can be gotten at. You know,
Just
but
run through the middle.
They will, and then they'll say, "Okay, low block then." Yep, good idea.
No,
You call yourself around fucking loaded on channel points, bro. Every message, but I just that Jack. Try talking chat again when you're a true fan. Okay.
I missed all that.
Hello. Anyway, all right. We've overrun. We will cover off the incomings on tomorrow's video. There's a lot going on in the transfer market. Things are getting very interesting. Emma, we will cover this off in the pre-match build-up to Man U, talking about Elanga against his old club. That should be good fun. All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you've enjoyed the show. Look, Forest did win. Yeah, we're just being analytical about the result. And Forest are ahead of Man U in the table. And let's hope we finish in that position above them come the end of the season. If you haven't hit the like, please don't forget to. Make sure you're following us on Insta, Twitter, all the socials. And make sure you're part of the FPL League. Follow Dino on the High Press as well. We'll see you tomorrow on the Daily Transfer News. And there's going to be a lot going on. Thank you so much for watching. And come on, you Reds.